Shabbat Shalom, Hebrew Israelite family. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is. Glory and honor to Messiah, the Hawashai, the only atonement for our sin, our righteousness before the Father. Glory and honor to Messiah Hawashai and to Father Yahweh. Greetings to the awakening 12 tribes of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, and to the 144,000 among them, who are the forerunners of the return of Messiah and the establishment of the messianic kingdom soon to come in the next 7+ years. Greetings to the precious souls who, through faith, are now part of the family from among the Gentiles. Greetings also to the chat, Yakoba, Sister Azariah, Lion of Judah, Isha Shama, and Frankie. Sister Love Blue, Gary Joseph, Sister Azariah by Israel, Daniel's family, Brother David Harry from across the pond. Greetings, brother, Royal House of Judah, and Yafi, Superstar, Wiothesia, our brother, Jillian Glasgow, my dear beloved one, Brother Baldy, Stephen Kelly, Sister Wade, Glory, he is mine, Akawambanya, of course, and your beautiful family. Greetings to all of you. Praise the Most High Yahweh, and Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Today we're going to be looking at Deuteronomy chapter 2. And in Deuteronomy chapter 2, there's going to be the mention of some other families that are not of the Hebrew Israelite family. Okay? They are Hebrews, some of them, and Shemites, some of them, but not Hebrew Israelites. You know, this is the thing. In the society in which we now live, in this present day, can we agree that race plays a large part in a person's place in society? Can we agree that race, the paradigm of race, plays a large part in a person's position in this society? Can we also agree that race was not founded in the Bible, that the Bible does not give any indication of race, but that the paradigm of race was created by scientists of European descent? And these scientists divided people's race by classifications they created, and they based their classifications on things like skin color, the shape of the skulls, and as well as areas of the earth. That's how they came up with their theories on race that they created. And they concluded that the dominant race, the most intelligent race, was of the Caucasoids, which is what they described themselves as. Later on, after these divisions, they classified themselves in an even simpler manner. They just called themselves white. In the same vein, they said the lowest classification of race was of a class of people they declared to be Negroid. And the Negroids were generally of what they declared to be African descent. Now, they had others, as Asiatic, okay, for example. They had other races, but they were the dominant ones, and the Negroes were the lowest ones, according to their theory. Now, the Bible does not classify people by race. As I just mentioned, that is a man-made paradigm. As Bible students, you and I are taught from the Bible to not put our trust in man. In fact, let's take look at a couple of witnesses for this. First is of course, we know Jeremiah, the Hebrew Israelite prophet Jeremiah. And we know chapter 17, Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed is the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, whose heart departeth from Yahweh. So that's one witness to tell us, do not put your trust in man. There's another one in Isaiah chapter 2, the prophet Yeshaya chapter 2, in verse 22. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? So again, we are told not to put our trust in man. In fact, let's look at one more, because we know in the mouth of two, we got two, but in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established. And let's go to one of my favorite ones in Psalm 147, where we also know the Most High shows us who the only chosen people are that he has chosen. But this is for the sake of us not putting our trust in man. Verse 10 is the one we're looking for, but for the sake of context, let's start at verse 1. Psalm 147 from verse 1 to verse 10. Don't put your trust in man according to the Bible, according to the scriptures. Do not put your trust in man according to the scriptures. Psalm 147, beginning at verse 1. Praise ye Yahweh, or hallelujah, for it is good to sing praises unto our Most High. For it is pleasant, and praise is comely. Yahweh doth build up Jerusalem, and gathereth together the outcasts of Israel. He healeth the broken in heart, and bindeth up their wounds. He telleth the number of the stars. He calleth them all by their names. Great is our Most High, and of great power. His understanding is infinite. Yahweh lifted up the meek, and casted the wicked down to the ground. Sing unto Yahweh with thanksgiving. Sing praise upon harp unto our Most High, who covereth the heaven with clouds, who prepareth rain for the earth, who maketh grass to grow upon the mountains. He giveth to the beast his food, and to the young ravens which cry. Verse 10. He delighteth not in the strength of the horse. He taketh not pleasure in the legs of a man. Verse 11. Yahweh taketh pleasure in them that fear him, in those that hope in his mercy. So we are taught from the scriptures, in the mouth of two or three witnesses, do not put your trust in man. So going back to our original conversation, a man-made theory of race is not something we should be trusting in. It's not something that means anything to the Most High. This does not excuse those that created it and benefited from it. Testing 1, 2, 3. Some of them think it does. It does not. This does not excuse the creators of this paradigm who benefited from this paradigm. Just yesterday, I saw in a social media post somebody declaring, I had nothing to do with slavery. My ancestors came over from Europe after that. And in doing this, they tried to declare themselves innocent of the guilt of their ancestors. But are they? So we ask a question, hypothetical, for the sake of this example. Let's say you own $10 million worth of real estate that's all paid off. You worked really hard. You built your little real estate empire, and you pass it on to your children, right? So you own $10 million worth of real estate, and you pass that real estate on to your children at your death. Along comes another family, not related to you, and they steal the $10 million of real estate. They completely steal it, take it over, and it's now theirs. Let's call them the purple people. So the purple people took the real estate that you built and gave it to their children. So now 5 generations passed, and their children have turned that $10 million of real estate into $10 billion of real estate. And their children will then declare, we had nothing to do with stealing the real estate. That's not our fault. Our fathers stole the real estate. The children that inherited the real estate, are they guilty? And if they are, why are they guilty? Here's a question, first quiz question of the day. So if the children in our example inherited the $10 million of real estate that became $10 billion of real estate, and they declared they did not steal it from its original owners, are they really innocent? And if they are not innocent, why are they not innocent? What do y'all think? So if they benefited from the thievery, that's right. If you benefit from a thief, you are a partaker of the thief. Does that make sense, y'all? That's right, Stephen Kelly. That's right, Glory. So if they benefited from the thief, they are partakers of the thievery. This is the willful ignorance of many children of Japhet. They want to declare, I have never lynched anyone. I have never been part of racism. I wasn't here when slavery happened. But they are benefiting from the system that dominates and benefits and is built for their race. You hear me? So they are not innocent, and they will face the judgment because they also are benefiting from the system their ancestors built on bloodshed and slavery. You hear me? Everybody got me? All right, let's keep going. So, in the Bible, bloodline is what identifies the people. Let me say that again. In the Bible, bloodline is what identifies the people. Many people know this. And because they don't like where their bloodline actually is, they try to say they're of another bloodline, which is Noah's prophecy coming to pass when the children of Japhet are trying to dwell in the tents of the children of Shem. Everybody got me? So when the children of Japhet are trying to dwell in the tents of Shem, they would declare themselves Shemite, when their bloodline says they're not Shemite. Even worse, are all Shemites? Well, first of all, let me just say this. Shem was the oldest son, the firstborn son of the triplets of Noah. And Shem had many children, so that all of Shem's children are Shemites. Okay? All of Shem's children are Shemites. Now, Shem had a grandson named Eber, which is where we get the word Hebrew. All of Eber's children and descendants are Hebrews. In fact, they are all Shemite Hebrews because they came from Shem and they came from Eber. Okay? So what's the difference then between people that are Hebrew Shemite and people that are Hebrew Israelite? What's the difference? Aren't they the same? Are all Hebrew Shemites Israelites? Are they? Are all Hebrew Shemites? That's right. No. Why? Why then? Why not? That's right, superstar. Because Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, is the bloodline by which the Hebrew Israelite comes from. Jacob was a Shemite and he was an Hebrew. His brother Esau was a Shemite and an Hebrew. But Esau's descendants are not Israelites. Does that make sense? Everybody got me so far? So all of Esau's descendants are Shemites and Hebrews, but they are not Hebrew Israelites. Jacob's descendants are Hebrew Israelites because Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So his children are the children of Israel. Does that make sense? Now, let's look further. The word Jewish appears one time in the Bible. Now, we who are Bible students understand the importance of terms. One of the ways you can discuss how important a term is in the scriptures is how many times does it appear in the scriptures. Is that right? Like how many times does the word Lord in capital letters O-R-D appear in the scriptures? Like how many times does that appear? Because that tells you how important a role that word plays in the book. Does that make sense, y'all? So in other words, if it's hardly mentioned, then it doesn't play a big role. But the word Lord in big letters appears 6,749 times in the scriptures. 6,749. Maybe even more than that. I would say that the word Lord, which is translated, if you look at the translation of that word, it's YHWH. YHWH. And that makes sense that that would be a prominent word because the Father's name is YHWH. Does that make sense, y'all? Does that follow? So that's the Father's name. YHWH. So 6,749 times the Father's name appears in the scriptures. We know that the word Christian only appears 3 times in the scriptures. And it's never in relation to a religion called Christianity. Never. It's in relation to calling an individual by that name. Okay? So wait a minute. The word Jewish, Jewish, appears in the scriptures once, just one time. Just one time. Can't be that important then. What does it mean? And in what context is it spoken? It's in Titus. Now, who was Titus? Well, we have Tito Bonriothesia among us, which means Titus, the son of adoption. Because Titus was the son of adoption. We're talking about bloodline. The Hebrew Israelites belong to the Father by blood. The Gentiles can give themselves to the Father through blood. Let me say that again. The Hebrew Israelites belong to the Father by blood. Anyone not of the Hebrew Israelite bloodline can also belong to the Father through blood. What do I mean by that? Well, by blood meaning Messiah is our bloodline cousin. Bloodline cousin. We're not like strangers. bloodline cousin. We are natural family. We are natural family. We are natural branches of the olive tree. But if a Gentile wants to come and become part of the family, to be adopted, they are adopted through the Hebrew blood of Messiah. That's how you're adopted. You're adopted because of the Hebrew blood, and that's what it is, Hebrew Israelite blood of Messiah. Does that make sense, y'all? Okay, so you get adoption through the Hebrew Israelite blood of Messiah. If you don't acknowledge his Hebrew Israelite blood, if you're trying to say he's a child of Yafet, you can't be adopted. You got the wrong guy. Therefore, the wrong bloodline. I know, isn't that right, Don? We know what's up. But, so let's talk about Titus now. Titus was a Gentile, adopted through the Hebrew Israelite blood of Messiah, adopted into the Israelite family. Wait, let me make sure we get this part. I know it's chopping us. Father, bless us now. Titus was a Gentile, adopted into the Hebrew Israelite family through the blood of Messiah. Let's tell you what he's not. Titus was not a Christian. Titus was never called in the scriptures a Christian. You will never see the name Christian tied to Titus. Testing 1, 2, 3. So Titus was not in no ways a Christian, but Galatians declared he was a Gentile. Galatians chapter 2 declares he was a Gentile. So, but he was a brother, accepted into the family through the blood of the Hebrew Israelite Messiah. Now, as a brother, Paul was instructing him. In fact, let's look at it. Titus chapter 1. Titus chapter 1. Titus chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 4. And I'm going to read verse 4 and 5. Titus chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. Titus chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. Paul's letter to Titus, his epistle to Titus. To Titus, he says, mine own son after the common faith. He wasn't Paul's bloodline son. He wasn't Paul's biological son, but he was Paul's son after the common faith. And we know that's the faith of Messiah, right? So he says, my own son after the common faith, grace, mercy, and peace from Yahweh the Father and from the Master, Yahushua, Mashiach, our Savior. For this cause I left thee in Crete, that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting, and ordain elders in every city as I had appointed thee. So he left him in Greece, Crete. And the purpose was for him to ordain elders in the cities of Crete. That's why he left him there. He said, I left you there to do a job, to ordain elders. And then he gives him the criterion of what the elder should be. That's what the rest of this next few verses are about. These are the elders. This is what you should be looking for in an elder. Then he goes down and he says in the same chapter 1, I'm going to begin at verse, let me see. I'm going to begin at verse 10 for the sake of context. So verse 10, this is Titus chapter 1. I'm going to begin at verse 10 and go from verse 10 down to verse 14. This is Titus chapter 1, from verse 10 to verse 14. So Titus is a Gentile that is Paul's son after the common faith. And he is ordaining Titus to go forward and find elders Okay, so here we go. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not for filthy lucre's sake. One of themselves, even a prophet of their own, said, the Cretians are always liars, evil beasts, and slow bellies. This witness is true. Wherefore rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. That's the only time in the whole Bible that the word Jewish is used. It's the only time. And I want you to see what he said. He said, don't give heed to Jewish fables. Wait a minute. Now, what is the word? It's only time we see this word in the scripture. What does it mean? It'd be good to know what it means, right? I mean, it's being only used once, but why is Paul using the word Jewish? Let's take a look at it. It says the word is eodaikos in Greek, eodaikos, a Greek word which means resembling a Judean. But let me say it again and look it up for yourself. It is the word 2451, G2451, used one time in the entire Bible, and it means resembling a Judean. What do you all think about that? So he said, don't listen to, right, kind of like, don't listen to people that give you, people that are resembling a Judean, that give you fables. People resembling a Judean that give you fables. And of course, we know what the witness of the Apostle John is from the Messiah himself. Those that say they are Jews, but do lie. Resembling, but not the real deal. Okay? Resembling, but not the real deal. Okay? Now, wait a minute. Let's talk about Herod. I found some interesting things when I was looking up Herod. Now, of course, I take this information with a grain of salt. I always do. If it's not straight from the Bible, I take it with a grain of salt. And that's what I would suggest you should do. Right, Glory, at the market part. You know, even the Islamic follower of Arab, Louis Farrakhan, said he calls them Johnny-come-latelys. He calls them Johnny-come-lately. And you know what I saw in the news? I'm going to put this in the description box after our study. CBS talking about the Pope, right? And his funeral. This man got on CBS and said that the Catholic religion is the oldest established religion on earth. That's it. He said it's the oldest established religion on earth. That's what he said. Now, of the three Abrahamic religions, it is of the three Abrahamic religions, right? Of the three Abrahamic religions, the Roman Catholic Church is the oldest. It's before Islam. It's before Judaism. Okay? It is. But it's not the oldest religion on earth. Now, that brings me to my next point. Judaism. Is it biblical? People that, and tell me, you Judaism followers, if you're listening, tell me if I'm wrong. In terms of the Bible, the followers of Judaism focus on the first 5 books of Moses. They do not believe in the New Testament at all. Am I lying about that? Or am I telling the truth? You could bear witness. So those who are followers of the religion of Judaism, can you bear witness that you do not believe in the New Testament of the King James Bible? It's not part of your belief system. You do say you believe in the books of Moses, right? You call it the Pentateuch or the Torah. And you say these are what your religion is based on. Now, we who are followers of bloodline followers of the Father Yah, bloodline of Messiah, we who are bloodline, we believe in the entire Bible, not just the first 5 books. We receive the first 5 books and all of the prophets and all of the testimony and all of the New Testament. Now, Christianity, their focus, and tell me again, you Christians or former Christians, if I'm wrong, the focus of the Christian is the New Testament. Some of them, like the SDAs, claim to believe in the other parts of the Bible, but only they also claim that they are spiritual Israel, which is not biblical. But basically, Christianity's focus is the New Testament, and not all of the New Testament, because they don't really follow the book of Hebrews, and they don't even understand. They guess with respect to the book of Revelation. They don't have any clear understanding of the book of Revelation. They guess. There's always guessing involved with Christianity. So they believe, let's say, in most of the New Testament, and they don't follow most of the Old Testament. Again, the difference between them and us as bloodline Hebrew Israelites of the bloodline of Jacob and cousins to the Messiah, we follow Genesis 1:1 to Revelation 22:21 and everything in between. We read that book because that's where our beliefs come from. And we are bloodline to the writers, the writers that were used by the Father to write this book. In other words, we're bloodline to Paul. We're bloodline to Moses. We're bloodline to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're bloodline to Isaiah. We're bloodline to Jeremiah. We're bloodline to Zephaniah, Zechariah, Malachi. We're bloodline to Obadiah. We're bloodline to Paul. We're bloodline to Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. We're bloodline to all of these people. So we're by faith because we're bloodline. Titus was through faith. He became through the blood of us, our cousin. The blood of our cousin brought him in and adopted him. The blood of our cousin brought him in. That's through faith. That's cool. Okay, that's cool. It's there. The Most High, I didn't make that up. Most High did that. Okay, now let's talk a little deeper. So, Edom. Let's look at Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. Let's talk about Edom. Amos chapter 9. According to the scriptures. I mean, we're not going to make anything up. We try not to, by the grace of the Father. I'm not saying I'm a perfect teacher. I am not. But I try my best to stick with the scriptures, just the 66 books, just those 66 divisions of my cousins of the Hebrew Israelites. That's what I try to stick to. I know Stephen Kelly. That is how man-made religions try to legitimize themselves. Okay? You know, I found something very funny. I didn't put this in the description box. I put Herod the first in the description box. Okay, but look, I was reading something today that said, the question I asked Google, I asked it twice and I got 2 different answers to show you how confused Babylon is. But look, so I asked the question this morning. I forgot what time. It was early this morning. I got up. I woke up at like 4 o'clock this morning. I wasn't trying to wake up at 4 o'clock, but I woke up at 4. So anyway, I asked Google, was Herod the first, the great, Herod the Great, was he an Edomite? This is the answer I got. No, he wasn't an Edomite. His father, Antipater, was the Edomite. Herod the Great was not an Edomite because he converted to Judaism. That's what it said, y'all. I'm not even lying to you. I wish I should have saved it. But it said, Herod the Great was not an Edomite. His father, Antipater, was an Edomite. But he wasn't because he converted to Judaism. Now, does that make any sense to y'all? Like, does that make any sense at all? So you're telling me because of their conversion to the religion that is not biblical of Judaism, they're no longer called Edomites. That's what he said. So then I did it again. I said, was Herod an Edomite? And then it came up, yes, he was, because his father was an Edomite. I put that in the description box. So now let's look at Amos chapter 9. Why are we talking about Edom? Well, we're going to be talking about Edom in Deuteronomy chapter 2 today. So let's look at Amos chapter 9. And I'm going to begin, let's see. I'm going to begin Amos chapter 9 at verse 7. And I'm going to read from verse 7. I'm going to read from verse 7 down to verse 12. This is Amos chapter 9. From verse 7 to verse 12, Amos 9. The reason somebody might ask, why do I keep repeating that? Because there's some people that are using the CC, closed caption, and I want them to be able to follow, even though they can't hear me, but the scriptures. So on the screen, it will say Amos chapter 9, verse through 7 through, what did I say? 7 through 12. Amos chapter 9, verses 7 through 12. Okay, that helps people that can't really hear. All right. It also helps people that are in other languages like Spanish. They can also translate it, and it can help them see where we are. Okay, that's why. So excuse me if I repeat it often, but I do that for a reason. All right. So Amos chapter 9, verses 7 through 12. The Most High says, "Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? Saith Yahweh, have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Mizraim, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Kir? Behold, the eyes of the Most High Yahweh are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith Yahweh. For I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old." Verse 12. "That they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all of the heathen which are called by my name, saith Yahweh, that doeth this." So apparently in the kingdom there will be a remnant of Edom. So apparently the Most High doesn't have a problem with all Edomites, because a remnant is going to be found in the kingdom. He has a problem with some Edomites. Well, which Edomites does he have a problem with? What do y'all think? What Edomites does he have a problem with? He doesn't have a problem with all Edomites, just some. Well, a large class of Edomites. Which ones does he have a problem with? I mean, because Esau is the father of Edom, yes? And Esau had multiple children, yes? He had multiple children. Okay? He had multiple children. Which one of his children does the father have a problem with? The ones claiming to be the chosen. Yes, this is true. Well, he actually tells us who he has a problem with. He actually tells us. Let's go to these be the words. Let's go to these be the words. These be the words. That is Deuteronomy chapter 25. These be the words. We're going to get here eventually. We're just skipping ahead a minute. But these be the words, chapter 25. These be the words, chapter 25. Yes. Yes. Let's start here. Let's start at verse 17. Deuteronomy chapter 25, starting at verse 17, and we only need 3 verses here, 17, 18, and 19. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Brother Hines. Yes, Yaakov. Let's read it. He tells us. We ain't even got to guess. Notice what it says, Deuteronomy chapter 25, 17, 18, and 19. Notice what Moses, in his final address to the children of Israel, the bloodline, us, let's notice what he says to our father. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when you were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not Yahweh. Therefore it shall be, when Yahweh thy most high hath given thee rest from all thy enemies round about in the land which Yahweh thy most high giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. So there's one particular set of Edomites that the father particularly has a problem with. Amalek. Let's go to the book next to Amos. We just was in Amos, right? Let's go to the book next to Amos. Let's see. The book next to Amos. I'm going to start. That is Obadiah. That, by the way, Obadiah is only one chapter. It's only one chapter. Very small prophecy. Very telling, though. As all prophecies of the Bible are. Small or large, they're all very important. And Obadiah is no different. Let's look at verse 6. From Obadiah, verse 6, down to verse 10. Notice what we just read. He said that they attacked Israel in their weakest part, at their weakest time, and the most vulnerable, right? That's why the Most High said, don't forget them. Now, of course, our fathers failed in that command. They did not wipe out all the Amalekites. Because later on in the book of Esther, we see Haman, the Agagite. Agagite is a descendant of Amalek. Look that up for yourself. So we see many centuries later in the Persian Empire, here's Amalekites still in the court of the king of Persia. Look at that. So now, because they're royalty, they're descendants of the Amalekites, royal descendants. And he called in the book of Esther is called Agagite because Agag was a king of the Amalekites. So when you see an Agagite, that means that is a descendant of the king of the Amalekites. There you go. Okay? So we're putting this all together. This is about the bloodline, see? It's not about the color of your skin. I know the people that call themselves white created this whole system that we are now living in, that the Bible calls Babylon, and then created it and named themselves the dominant ones based on the color of their skin. And their bloodline is Yafet. But the Bible declares the bloodline of Jacob to be his chosen people. Let's read again. Obadiah from verse 6 down to verse 10. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things brought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Why? Verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Again, it's not talking about all Edom, the ones that were violent against thy brother Jacob, which Deuteronomy points out are Amalekites. Amalekites. Everybody got me? So whenever you see a group of people that call themselves Jewish, that resemble us but are not us, and they are violent against us or involved with our oppression, You know right now who they are. They're not just Edomites. They're Amalekites. And the high ones among them, the high ones, the ones that are the rulers of the darkness of this world, you know who they are now. According to the Bible, they are called Amalekites. You got me? Everybody following that? According to the Bible, they're called Amalekites. And even what was the mistake that Esau made? Esau's firstborn son, Eliphaz, his firstborn, the inheritor of all of Esau's goods. That's how they did it. That's how they did it in the Semite culture. The firstborn got a double blessing. That's not just Hebrew Israelite. That's Semite culture, right? Eliphaz was his firstborn son. Eliphaz had a concubine. He had children, but he had a concubine named Timnah. Timnah was the daughter of the firstborn son of the people of Mount Seir, the Horites. And Timnah had a child for Eliphaz named Amalek. And Amalek was called a duke. A duke is a word for two words. It's a word for cattle. Obviously, we're not talking about cattle, but it's also a word for chief of the tribe. So he is royalty. He was called Duke Amalek, which is why later you have royalty. Now, Esau messed up right there because that one right there was attacking his brother Jacob. All their existence, trying to wipe out Jacob. They were never going to be successful in that, but they did make themselves enemies of the God of Jacob. Everybody got me? Testing 1, 2, 3. So much so that the Messiah takes this thing personally. What do I mean by that? Well, let's let Isaiah tell us. The Bible's been talking to us so far. So let's let Isaiah tell us how did Messiah take this so personally? Well, let's see. Isaiah chapter 63. Isaiah chapter 63 from 1 to 6. Isaiah 63 from 1 to 6. We've already read where Amalekites have afflicted us. Amalekites are part of those that took us into slavery and oppressed us. Amalekites are the ones that have us in debt. I surprised you with that one, huh? Amalekites are the ones. Look. If you're in this Eurocentric system of Babylon, do you understand, just basic, you ain't got to be an economics major to understand this, what I'm about to say. If you're in the system of Babylon, you're in this capitalist, they call it a capitalist system, right? So you're in the capitalist system, right? Is not this system run on debt? Do you understand that? Like the system continues to operate on the principles of debt. Like you want to own a home in the United States of America, and the house ownership is the large part of what most Americans have as their wealth is in their house. Okay. So if you own a house, how you make money is you own a house. You don't really own it. The bank owns it, but it's in your name. And you're hoping that either you can pay down the mortgage and pay it off, or the house appreciates in value so that when you sell it, you can get a bigger house and hope that appreciates in value and get a bigger house. And what you really want is you want your children to inherit that house or the benefits or the proceeds from that house. And then that's how the wealth is built up. But it starts with a bank and it starts with debt. And if you've ever bought a house and you got to sign this ton of paperwork, if you ever bought a house, you're going to sign a ton of paperwork. Part of that paperwork is going to show you how much you're actually going to pay the bank back. And it's usually more than 3 times what you borrow. That's how they do this. So you're paying the bank back. If you borrow $200,000, you're going to end up, if you hold that mortgage for 30 years or 20 years, you're going to pay them back $600. Okay, you're definitely going to pay them back more than you borrowed. That's how they make money. Okay, on the interest. So the Edomites or the Amalekites control that industry. They control the banking industry. In the United States, it's controlled through a place called the central bank. And the Amalekites are usually the heads of the central bank. Usually. Sometimes they're not. But usually it's somebody of Amalekite bloodline that's head of the central bank. Okay? And when they go to speak, and if they're going to say, generally they have meetings, right? The meetings of the, they call it the meetings of the Federal Open Market Committee. These are leaders of the central banks. There are 12 central banks in the United States of America, Federal Reserve banks. There are 12 Federal Reserve banks, and the 13th, 12 plus 13th is Washington, D.C. But there's 12 Federal Reserve districts, Federal Reserve banks in the United States. And when they get ready to make an announcement after they've had an open market committee meeting, they have them several times a year. The whole financial, everything, Wall Street, the London stock market, the Nikkei index, they all are waiting to hear what these men have talked about because they control the level of liquidity that's on the earth, the number of dollars out there. They control the cost of those dollars. And they're not a federal government agency. They're called the Federal Reserve Bank, but they're not a federal agency. They're a private bank. And they control the debt level on the United States and through the United States on the earth. Okay? That's how this game works, y'all. Now, they have to answer to the whore. They always have to answer to the whore. The king of the north rules them. Okay? But they have major control. So in other words, they can control monetary systems all they want. What they're afraid of is their life ending. You know, what does the devil say? Skin for skin. All that a man has, he will give for his life. So you can control all kind of monetary stuff. You can create dollar, you could print it, and you can make a lot. You could be wealthy by that. But you're still scared of getting your life took. And that's the power. That's the power of the king of the north. He could take your life and your family's life anytime he wants. And you know that. So while you are out here ruling monetary policy, you know in the back of your head, you better do what they tell you to do when they tell you to do it. Because if you don't, you can have a problem. Everybody got me? Okay. So you have the children of Yefet that created race. All right? Everybody know that? So that's Genesis chapter 10, verses 1 to 5. The children of Yefet are Europeans. They created race. Among them are these people that are, well, they're also called Ashkenazis because they come out of Yefet. And they've converted to a religion called Judaism. Therefore, they are Jewish. Judaism is not a Bible religion, but they do use the Bible as part of their belief system, parts of the Bible. Not all of it, parts of it. Oh, Glory asks, who is the king of the north? You'd have to go back to I'm going to let you go back to our study in Daniel. And let me, in fact, Glory, let me give you the link to that. Let me give you the link to that. You have to go back to our study of Daniel chapter 11 and remember the four kings, north, south, east, and west. And then once you do that, you will understand who the king of the north is. Could we bring that out? So let's take a look here. I'm going to give you the playlist of that one. Because I like people to look stuff up for themselves. I don't want to be telling you and then you can say, I told you. I want you to look it up for yourself. So let's see here. All right. I'm going to give you a link. I'm going to give you a link as soon as I can. Hang on one second. Bear with me 1 second, Glory. And I'll give you a link to the playlist. No. Here it is. Okay. I'm going to give you the link to the playlist right now. I'm a little slow, so bear with me. I'm putting this is the Daniel series playlist. I'm going to give you that. You can look at that right there. And then you want to focus on chapter 11. Well, start at chapter 10, but chapter 11. Okay. Yeah, praise the Most High. Yeah, so yes, definitely, Castle King is giving good advice. Please make sure you have your King James Bible with you when you're looking at that Bible study, because otherwise it might be confusing for you. But keep your Bible with you, just like we're doing here. We're going through the Bible and we're using Bible scriptures for 2 or 3 witnesses of every doctrine we talk about. So yeah, look at that. There's the link to it. It's the playlist for the 2025 Daniel series. We are Thesia. You know, the seat is empty at the moment, but the office still exists, right? It's the office we're looking at, right? Okay. Then Isaiah 63. Wait a minute. I was talking about how the Messiah takes this thing with the Amalekites very personally. He takes it very personally. You know, like in Godfather chapter 1, Michael was told by his brother Sonny, "You're taking this too personally." So he said, "Tom, this man is taking this personally." Well, Messiah is taking this personally. Okay, let's take a look at it. This is Isaiah 63 from verse 1 down to verse 6. Isaiah 63 from verse 1 to verse 6. And please, as we read this, please try to bring to mind, where have you heard similar words in another place in the Bible, which you would know, right? Especially you people that have now read the Bible through multiple times. When you look at this, you could really relate. It's very similarly spoken in another place in the Bible. So let's take a look here. Isaiah 63 from verse 1 to 6. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone. Of the people there was none with me, for I will tread them down in mine anger and trample them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. I will tread down the people in mine anger and make them drunk in my fury. I will bring down their strength to the earth. Yes, it is also in the book of Revelation. Notice what it says. Very similar words. It's the very similar vibe. Why? Because it's the same thing. Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14. Stephen Kelly, thank you very much. Revelation chapter 14, beginning at verse 14. Revelation 14, going down to verse 20. Revelation 14, we just read Isaiah 63. Now, Revelation 14, going down to verse 20. And I looked, and behold, a cloud. And upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thus thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire. And he cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Yahweh. And the winepress was trodden, in other words, trampled, without the city, and blood came to the winepress, even unto the horses' bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. So in Isaiah 63, it points out this comes from Basra, that's Edomite. And here in Revelation, it says the blood is going to be heavy, and it's the second. It's not the reaping of the first. It's the reaping of the second, which is the winepress of Yah's wrath. Everybody got that? So the Bible tells us who they are and why, doesn't it? It tells us who they are and it tells us why. Why is he so angry at these people? And he tells you who they are and what they do and how they treat Yah's true people. Tells you all of that. We ain't have to leave the books of the Bible to get that, did we? We got the whole thing right there. So now you understand when we're dealing with Lot and we're dealing with Edom in Deuteronomy chapter 2. Now you'll understand what the history is and where this comes from and how the Most High chooses his people by the bloodline and why the enemy of souls, Satan, is so angry at the bloodline. He's so angry at the bloodline that the Bible said he causes the beast to afflict the saints, right? And make war against the saints. That's what the Bible said. He make war against the saints. Why? Because he knows who we really are. See? Even if we don't know, that doesn't mean he don't know. You know, one time, as we're going back to Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy chapter 2. One time, I'll tell you a quick story. I got jumped. I mean, if you live in any black neighborhood, unfortunately, part of life there is once in a while, you may run into a conflict. And if you run into the conflict with the wrong crew, you could find yourself getting rolled on. If you've been rolled on like I have, then you will understand what I'm talking about. Well, why was they rolling on me? I had a cousin. True story. I had a cousin. And my cousin was a bad man. We were all teenagers then, so nobody was really a man. But my cousin was a bad dude. A bad dude, right? And he had enemies. I didn't know all his enemies. I didn't even know all his friends. Some of his friends were my friends, but I didn't know all his enemies. So I was going to one back in the 70s to have these house parties. I don't know if you're from the 70s and the 60s, you would know. There was these house parties would happen. People would usually use their basements, charge you like 50 cents or $1 or something, and you could come into the house party. Sometimes in the house party, they had DJs in the house party. So I had went to this house party and met this very attractive sister. And we decided to go to another house party later. A couple months later, we went to this other house party. This particular house party had 2 DJs. Now, I was big time at the time. You had DJ on one corner of the basement and a DJ in the other one, and they would play music battling against each other. That was part of the party. And this was packed. It was packed. I did not know when I came to that party. My cousin was with me, and it was like three of us. 3 of us came. We had got drunk at my house. My girl met me there. I was drunk, and I was at the time 16. I was drunk, and we went to this house party on a Saturday night. She was there. It was crowded. 2 DJs was going off. I was having a good time. I was. And I was going from one corner to the other, and I was telling that DJ, man, he got you on this one. He got you. You got to come up with something like that. I was doing that, and I would travel from one corner to the other. Okay. So then, as I'm traveling from one corner of the basement to the other, this dude jumps in front of me. Now, I would later find out these were enemies of my cousin. I didn't know. I had no idea. I never met this guy before. He jumps in front of me. And he's got this big gallon jug. You know, they got these gallon jugs of sangria that they sell. You might have seen them. Or half a gallon. They pretty big glass jugs. And he had that in his hand. He said, "Oh, get out of my face." And I was drunk, so I said, "Okay." And I said this. I said, "I'm sorry if I bumped into you. My bad." And I went to step away from him. And he stepped in front of me again. And he said, "N-word, I just told you, get out my face." And I'm drunk enough, crazy enough. See, N-word, what you talking about? F you talking about? At that moment, I felt pressure on both my sides of my body, and I felt something behind my back. And he said, "There's a corner of this wine left. When I finish drinking this wine, if you still in front of me, I'm gonna whoop your ass." And then I said, "Drink, N-word, go ahead." Next thing I knew, I had no coat, no shirt. All I had was this round part of the shirt. He tried to hit me with that bottle. I blocked the bottle with my left hand, and at the same time, I caught him good with my right hand. But as I caught him on his jaw, another bottle caught me in the back of the head. And it was on. We was fighting. I was yelling for my boys, my cousin. I'm yelling for him, and it was three of us. And my cousin, we finally got it all like straightened out. Not straightened out, but we was three of us was in like a triangle, and they were all held back because I had copped a couple of them, and they didn't want to feel that no more. So they was like, and there was about 20 of them there. I didn't know that. They came there for the express purpose of getting my cousin. They was afraid of him, and they found out I was his cousin, so they went to jump me. And I didn't know. I had no idea. Okay? And I could go on, but the moral of the story is I was getting jumped because I didn't know my relation to my cousin's enemies. If I had known that, I might have handled it differently, maybe. I might not even come, right? But I didn't know. And so I walked right into a trap. My cousin too. And so I didn't know they were his enemies. And then they knew that, and they became my enemies. And that's the same thing of the Hebrews. If you don't know who you are, you don't understand why your enemies hate you. They hate you because of your cousin. You catching me? They hate you because of your cousin. And if you don't know who your cousin is, and if you don't know why, you'll be receiving this hate and not understanding why they coming at you. See, it wasn't until later I found out. My cousin knew all of them thugs, and they was his enemies. And they thought, "Oh, we're afraid of him, so we'll get to you." And I mean, see, at that time, once in a while, a dude would carry a gun. It ain't like today. If it was today, there'd be a shootout. But then some of them had pipes, some of them had chains, some of them had knives. I had nothing but my big mouth. "Come on, I'll take all of y'all." They taught me. But a friend of my cousin came and ended the whole thing after we had scuffled. I had my lip busted, and it was on. And they literally wanted to kill me. But this dude named Looney, where have you heard that before? His name was Looney. Looney came. Everybody was afraid of Looney. Not only was Looney known to be, coming out of jail, and he looked like that, Looney had a crew. And Looney came. And Looney wasn't involved with either side. And Looney said, "What you doing?" He told them. He said, "We get ready to kill this." And he said, "No, you not. Let him go." And they was mad. And he said, while they did that, he tells me, "Run." So me, my cousin, my friend, we started sprinting. And they tried to catch us, but nah, you ain't catching no brothers when they in fifth gear, bro. And that was it. And that's how we got away. But I did not know they was enemies of my cousin. And brethren, you better understand who you are and why you are and who your enemies or your cousin are, because they will hate you. The reason they hate you is because they hate your cousin. The Messiah is your cousin, and that's why they hate you. They cannot fight him, right? Just like these boys, my cousin was 6'5" and big, so they was afraid of him, and they didn't know really who was in his crew that night. There was only 3 of us. They didn't know that, so they came at me. Okay, they came at me, and they came at me hard. I mean, like I said, I didn't realize what was going on. I'm drunk, and he's like, and I'm feeling pressure all around me, and he gonna get bold and stand there talking about, when I finish this bottle, you still standing in front of me, I'm gonna break this over your head. Like, go ahead, man, drink, do your thing, let's do this. And I took my jacket off. Let's go, boy. Man, after I'm late, my aunt was at my house, and my lip is busted. I got cuts from the whatever they threw on me, and they turned into me. My cousin is laughing. You trying to take on the whole party? My father even laughed. He said, "That sounds like him. He think he gonna beat everybody up." Oh, it's a good thing there wasn't no guns then, because that would have been really bad. But that was like 78, I think 77, something like that. But yeah, I didn't know that they hated my cousin, and that's why they caught me. Listen, you must understand who you are in relation to your cousin. They cannot fight your cousin, but they will come at you because you look like your cousin, because you are his bloodline cousin. They will come at you. Remember that. A lot of us don't understand. And you know what? When you don't understand who you are, you could be led anywhere. They could lead you any kind of way they want to. You're right, Stephen Kelly. I told you I'm a stiff-necked one, man. Between the Hebrew blood and that daggone Jamaican blood, man, I'm all messed up. I mean, the Most High I got welts from the strap. I have to. That's the only way he could talk to me, because you can't talk to me. He could deal with you, though. He know how to deal with you. Yeah. So that was it. So, my point, though, is the reason they come at us is because of our cousin. You must understand that. Don't think they come at you because your skin is brown or because you associate with brown people and your skin is pale. That's not why they come at you. They come at you because they hate your cousin. The devil is sending them because they hate your cousin. Did you see January? Do y'all remember January 6th, 2021? You remember January 6th, the riot at the Capitol? Did you see the hate they had in their faces? Did you see the hate? Did you see the satanic rage they brought to the Capitol that day? Did you see it? Or if you've ever seen a civil rights documentary that talked about, you ever heard of the Little Rock Five? You know who the Little Rock Five was? You know who the Little Rock was? That was the integration of Little Rock, Arkansas's white high school. And they brought in Hebrews to integrate the school. And if you see the videos of the Caucasians that was there that day, the demonic possession that it had for them to act like that, they'd be embarrassed to, if you were to find the faces today and see their children, their grandchildren be embarrassed by what their parents was like that time. Okay. And so that's what we're talking about. It's a demonic anger, a demonic resentment because of your cousin. You must always remember that. It ain't you, it's your cousin. Right. And when James Meredith was going into University of Mississippi, they went berserk. And they was tripping. They had to send in the National Guard. These Caucasian Europeans were acting so demonically out of control. Okay. It's because of your cousin. See, it wasn't because James Meredith was simply melanated. It looks like that on the surface, but we look past the surface, don't we? We look deeper. We look in the spirit. And in the spirit, it's because of who James Meredith's cousin was that caused them to trip like that. And the spirit of who's behind their hatred. Who's behind that hatred? Who's behind that demonic spirit that's causing them to hate us because we're melanated? Okay? You see what I'm saying? So, all right, let's get some Deuteronomy 2 in here. Deuteronomy chapter 2. I'm going to begin this. We're going to finish this chapter as we come back, but we got to start this chapter. This was chapter 2 of Deuteronomy, what this is about, the bloodline, right? So bloodline. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 2. I'm beginning at verse 1. I'm going to go from verse 1 down to verse 9. Bloodline. Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as Yahweh spake unto me, and we compassed Mount Seir many days. And Yahweh spake unto me, saying, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn you northward, and command thou the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir. And they shall be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore. Meddle not with them, for I will not give you their land, no, not so much as a footbreadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession. Ye shall buy meat of them for money, that ye may eat, and ye shall also buy water of them for money, that ye may drink. For Yahweh thy Most High hath blessed thee in all the works of thy hand. He knoweth thy walking through this great wilderness for these 40 years. Yahweh thy Most High hath been with thee. Thou hast lacked nothing. And when we passed by from our brethren of the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, through the way of the plain of Elath in Ezon-Gabar, we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And Yahweh said unto me, Distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. So he was honoring their forefathers. He honored Lot and said, don't touch his land. And he honored Esau and told him, don't touch his land. But as we're going to find out when we come back, that changed. And we already know why it changed. Because they began to attack his chosen people. And we're going to find out about that after the break. So we're talking about bloodlines. Bloodlines. And we're talking about, listen, we're talking about bloodlines only from the Bible. If anybody asks me, they say, prove to me you're the bloodline, I'll say, well, the Bible shows me that. How does the Bible show you that? Because the children of Israel are described as people that look like ancient Egyptians. Moses was mistaken for an Egyptian. The whole tribes, Joseph was mistaken for an Egyptian. When they went to marry Jacob, the children of the Canaanites thought that they were all Egyptians and mistaken for Egyptians. And then, of course, the Apostle Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. So that ancient Egyptians were melanated. Also, it describes us as saying we would have chains on our necks and would be brought into slavery by the children of Japhet and sold into slavery by the children of Ham. That is, Africans sold us to Europeans. It also said that the children of Israel will go through past the rivers of Ethiopia. So the children of Israel are melanated people that went through Ethiopia into Africa and were sold into slavery on ships by the children of Ham. That's how we know who we are, because we're descendants of those slaves. Isn't that easy? And all of that is in here. Praise the Most High. All of that is in there. That's how I know I'm bloodline. That's how you know your bloodline. That's how the Bible distinguishes the bloodline. Praise the Most High. We'll be back It's now almost 12. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, my family. Until we meet again.